Keita Bates-Diop headed to the NBA. Bill Landis, Doug Lesmerises. Bill, who replaces the Big Ten Player of the Year on this Ohio State roster next season?
No pressure, Kyle Young, but you have to make up for the guy who averaged 20 and 9 as a junior. He's the guy, Kyle Young. Keita Bates-Diop, it turns out, was like the perfect kind of stretch power forward that Chris Holtmann looks for in his system. And Kyle Young is the next guy in that spot. That's what they recruited him to be. It's not to say that he'll be the same level scorer that Keita was next year as a sophomore, because that's sort of unrealistic goal and unfair to Kyle Young. But he's the guy they look at as a guy who can score on the perimeter, can score inside, has good length. He's grown a little bit. He's like, I think he came here as like 6'6", and he's almost 6'8" now, which is actually bigger than Keita. And he's probably a better athlete than Keita too. It's just that he doesn't have the game quite yet, but I think it'll come. But he's the guy they look at. And then Jaden Leday coming in this 2018 recruiting class is like a power forward / center in this kind of system. But he's another guy with very high athletic level who's going to play in that spot and try to piece it together to make up for a guy who averaged almost a double-double.
Ohio State knew this was going to happen. Chris Holtmann had an idea when he got here that Keita Bates-Diop might go pro after the season. As the season went on, he admitted he basically knew it. But is there anybody they add at this point? Does this do anything? Do they bring in one more body as a grad transfer or something this offseason? Because now instead of just losing 3 seniors, they're losing 4 players with Bates-Diop added to that.
Well, they're definitely going to bring in one. And I'd say there's a 98% chance we're going to bring in one because they just need more ball handling. They need either a starting point guard or a backup point guard. They need that. But now it puts more pressure on them to find and Chris Holtmann calls them perimeter players. And for him, perimeter means point guard through power forward. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a guy who plays Keita's position, but I think they need to replace his length. He was the closest thing they had to a rim protector, and now he's gone. So I think you might see them try to identify some of that. A guy who can defend inside, outside. That skill set, other than maybe Andre Wesson, is not a known commodity on this roster. So the guard they were going to target all along, but now you might see them throwing some other guys in the mix who can play that power forward position and give them that stretch element, but also block some shots because they're losing their best defender to the NBA.
If you had to bet grad transfers who can play next year, 0, 1, or 2 added to Ohio State?
2.
He's Bill Landis. I'm Doug Lesmerises. More Ohio State basketball coverage at cleveland.com.